welcome to another video here on Penholder Art. So in this video I'm going to be looking at the Schminke Hoordam 140 dot shot. Now I'm not usually a fan of Schminke colours, they're not a brand that I work a lot with, however I do have some of them, and one of the things I do like about them is their consistency of paint and all their information booklets they give out. They're very helpful and very informative. So I'm going to be swatching all of these colours. There are 140 here, so this might be spanning over a couple of videos, but I'm going to swatch them in real time so you get my initial reaction of them. So let's start. So the first two colours are whites, 101 Titanium Opaque White and Permanent Chinese White. I will still swatch them even though they are pretty pointless. So they're nice sized dots. They reactivate quite well. Make sure there's no colour on my brush. Nothing special there. Next one is 206 Titanium Yellow. They all re-wet incredibly well. It's quite a pale lemon yellow colour. This doesn't actually have any of the pigment information on, I've just noticed. They're not in order either. Next we have 215 and 207's down here. So this is lemon yellow. It's very nice. It's quite a warm lemon yellow. Usually they're very cold, like the titanium yellow. This is quite a warm one. Next up, Cadmium Lemon. It's a nice yellow, but again they're both very similar yellows, but you wouldn't have both in your palette. Next we have Chromium Yellow Hue Lemon. I'm guessing that's Chromium Yellow Hue. Again, a nice yellow. It's slightly different than the other two, but it's still just a yellow. Next one is Vanadium Yellow. Vanadium Yellow. Let's have a go. It's very opaque, I've noticed. Yeah, well, semi-opaque. I think all the others so far have been pretty transparent. Next up, Cadmium Yellow Light. I don't usually work with cadmium colours, just because they tend to be quite expensive. Very nice. Well, it's not too opaque, pretty transparent. It's a very nice yellow. The next colour on the chart is Pure Yellow. And I have this in my collection already. I can already tell you it is PY154. It's basically Azo Yellow Light. That's how Rembrandt and a couple of other brands call it. And it's a beautiful yellow. I really like this yellow. And I need to put it back on my palette, I think. Next we have Perylene Hue. Let's move them out of the way. It's not as warm as the Pure Yellow. It's quite a nice yellow. So next we have Cadmium Yellow Middle, or Medium. There's hardly even a dot here. Again, it's very transparent. Need to remember to get all the writing at the bottom to make sure it's transparent or opaque. Next up, there is Chrome Yellow Hue Light. Ooh, I don't think I like this colour. It's very orangey, very pale, quite weak. I'm not getting much colour off that dot compared to some of the others. So onto some dirty yellows now, and then onto the oranges. So the next one is transparent yellow. It looks kind of dirty looking, rusty, almost like gamboge. Yeah, it's more of a gamboge colour. The dot looks a lot dirtier and browner than what it really is. It's quite a nice yellow actually. These colours are very smooth, there's no granulation yet. Yellows don't tend to be. Next is Turner's Yellow. I might go on after this and add all the pigment information. Oh, that's a nice yellow. I quite like that one. It's quite a medium yellow. Is it quite medium? It's quite a dark yellow. I like that one. Next we have Quinacridone Gold Hue. I've recently purchased the genuine thing from Schminke, and I'm not sure anything can live up to it really. I've seen it's a very nice colour. That's not done bad. It does the name justice of Quinacridone Gold. I will check this against the genuine thing. Definitely could do being a bit darker. There we go. Next we have Chromium Yellow Hue Deep. I'm not sure why artist ranges do hues. It really irritates me. Like, why do it? You're an artist range, why do a hue? Why not just get rid of it? Hues belong in student grade paints. I know sometimes you can't get the pigment anymore, such as a Quinacridone Gold, but then you should just not label it a hue, label it a different name. This is another warm yellow. Sorry for the off-centered rant. That's quite a nice yellow there as well. If I'm not mistaken, I think that might be a tiny bit of texture in that paint. So next we have Cadmium Yellow Deep. Another cadmium colour. They always do okay, but they're not the colours for me. So I say when I make one in my own handmade range. None of these colours seem to be very opaque either, I've noticed. Next up, Indian Yellow. I have a couple of Indian Yellows in my range from other brands, so it's interesting to see how this will behave. Yes, it's a nice golden yellow on the more orangey side of yellows. Despite the dots not looking very big, there's actually quite a bit of paint you can get out of it. I might try and paint some of them at some point. Right. Next line, yellow orange. So we're onto the oranges now. Sure we're in focus. Again, that's still pretty yellow really, it's not that orange. Next we have Cadmium Orange Light. It's a bit more orange, we're getting there. We're definitely getting there with the orange colours. That one seems to have a tiny bit of texture as well, not masses. The next colour is 214 Chromium Orange Hue. There seem to be a lot of hues I've noticed so far with the Schminke colours. Yes, that's definitely an orange. First proper orange, in my opinion. I'm not sure what pigment this is, or any of them really. There's no pigment information at all. Next we have Cadmium Orange Deep. Yes, Cadmium Orange Deep, 228. This is definitely an more opaque paint. Now I do have a Cadmium Orange by Schminke already in my collection. I don't know if it's this one, or I think it's probably actually the Cadmium Red Orange, if I remember correctly. Next we have Transparent Orange. This is definitely a deep orange colour. It's beautiful. And definitely transparent. It'd be quite embarrassing if it was opaque. Next we have Satin Red. I think this might be a new colour, or newer colour. I've been quite interested to try this one. I've seen it before on their sites. Yes, it's a beautiful orange. True carrot orange. Definitely more on the red side. And so far all pigments have been 3 or more stars on light fastness rating, so that's good. Now, they have little symbols by their names, which indicate whether they are staining or opaque, transparent, and then they have their series number as well. So I think the squares are if it's opaque, and the triangle is to indicate if it stains. So next one, Cadmium Red Orange. I'm not going to try and pronounce the German names. I can speak Dutch, not German. And yes, this is definitely an opaque one. I think this is the one I've got already. Any paint that says it's opaque can be made transparent by just adding loads of water to it, as you can see here. So next colour is a Permanent Red Orange. French, I believe, is Rouge Permanent Orange. That's why I don't do languages. That's a semi-opaque colour, but I do find that probably even more opaque than the Cadmium Red Orange, if anything. It's a beautiful red-orange colour, almost vermilion. Now we're on to the reds. How are we doing for time? Not too bad. And this is Permanent Red 316. It's a nice red colour there. It says it's semi-opaque, but I'm not seeing the opaqueness at all. What I'm trying to do here as well with each swatch is try and get a washed down version of it as well. Just see how it's like in a wash, which is how you mostly use watercolour paint. Next we have Cadmium Red Light. I think this is one that I have already in my collection. I do have a Cadmium Red from Schminke. Yes, this is definitely the one I've got. Very opaque red. And strong as well. It's a very strong red. It's a fire truck red. Next we have Germanium Red. Geranium Red. So this is another new one, I believe. It was one that was quite nice. There were a lot of similar reds in this range. Yeah, it's a very nice pinky red. A bit similar to Permanent Red, I find. Next we have Vermillion. Vermillion always differs a little bit between brand. Some brands are more orangey, some more red. I think there's a bit of texture in this paint. I'm not sure if it's quite granulation, but there's definitely some sort of texture there. Actually, I think it might be a bit granulation, granulating red. Don't get many of those. Next we have Vermillion Light. Yes, it's definitely a little bit more like the Vermillion, just not as strong. There's not as much texture either. I often wonder what's the point in doing pigments like this. It's quite a nice pinky colour, this one. Be good if you want to use like cartoon skin tone. Next we have Scarlet Red. Let's see if it's scarlet or not. Many brands say they've got scarlet. It's not. That's scarlet. Yes, it's quite a nice red colour. Very bright red, almost sort of lipstick red really. It's the lipstick colour they tend to use, remember from old children's cartoons. Next we have Cadmium Red Middle, so a cadmium colour, and this promises to be opaque. And it is fairly opaque. And then again, there's some texture with this one. Not much, but some. It's very brown red colour, almost wine. Next we have Quinacridone Red Light. I'm not really feeling the Quinacridone Red here. I do make my own Quinacridone Red, and I've seen some from other colours. This isn't as electric red as I'm used to. It's a bit like the Vermillion light. Next we have Transparent Red Deep. This is a bit like Alizarin Crimson almost, that sort of dark purpley sort of red. These are all very nice smooth colours. I'm getting very smooth transition and paint from each one of them. Next we have Cadmium Red Deep, one that is often included in people's palettes. Not mine though. I have colours similar to this, and this is very opaque. Very dark, beautiful, deep red. Almost brown in some places. Next to line, we have Perylene Maroon. This is the colour I've seen from other brands, and I've always been interested in it. I don't actually have it in my collection. It's a very dark red colour, and this is definitely a dark red. It's quite opaque, despite it only saying it's semi-opaque. Very nice colour. Again, that's another wine red colour as well. No, before you ask, I don't like wine. Next we have Perylene Dark Red. Whoops. It's not very dark, it's just bright red. There's no darkness to it. The Perylene Maroon was much darker. Next we have Alizarin Crimson. This is on quite a lot of palettes as well, and the light fastness is not as good. I'm guessing this is genuine Alizarin Crimson because it's only got 1 star for light fastness rating. It's a nice purpley red colour, but then it's not miles different from, say, the Perylene Maroon or the Cadmium Red Deep. I would probably just use those instead of a poor light fastness red such as this one. You can easily substitute it. It's not a must-have. Next colour is Ruby Red Deep. It's definitely, I'm not sure if I'd call it ruby, but it's definitely a deep red colour. Again, you could even use this as a substitute for Alizarin Crimson. There's a bit more difference in the reds compared to the yellows. There's still quite a few samey ones. Next we have Madder Lake Deep. and this tends to be an Alizarin Crimson pigment as well, and it definitely shows because it's only got 2-star light fastness. Again, it's the same as Alizarin Crimson. It's a little bit more light fastness, but it's essentially the same. Potato, potato. Next we have Madder Red Dark. I'm guessing this is a permanent version of Alizarin Crimson. Most brands tend to do the genuine thing for anybody who has a sentiment to the paint, and then they also do a permanent version for modern day artists who want something permanent. That's a nice colour, very uniform. And they are pretty much identical. Maybe the Madder Red Dark is a little bit darker. Next we have Bordeaux. Again, it's that same sort of Madder Lake colour, Cadmium Red Deep sort of hue. It's still Alizarin Crimson, I feel. Still feels like that. Definitely would not have all these on one palette. They're all too similar. Next we have Rose Madder. Again, another one that doesn't have very good light fastness. This is a pinky colour. Nice pinky colour, but still, I'm not sure I'd want to paint with it. Of course, light fastness doesn't matter if you digitize your work or if you put it straight in a journal, like some people do. Still, it's not very strong, this colour. I'm not getting a lot of paint off it. It's quite weak. Next we have Permanent Carmine. So we're getting into the more pinky purples now. So we're going to start becoming more pink. This is where we get quite a lot of quinacridone colours as well in the purple range. There's quinacridone pink, red, purple, magenta. It's a nice colour. Could be a good substitute for Alizarin Crimson. It's more permanent. Next we have Ruby Red. Did we not just do this one, Ruby? Oh, Ruby Red Deep, directly above it. Would it be that much different? Oh, this one's more pink. Oh, that's beautiful. It's a really nice colour. You wouldn't have thought two are similar. But if you like Cadmium Red and Cadmium Red Deep, they look like they're from the same family. These don't even look anything alike. This is more purple. It's Ruby Red. It's gorgeous. Next we have the Magenta. Now this is one that I have in my collection already, and that I'm changing over to Old Holland, just so it's in line with the rest of my palette. And right next to it is Purple Magenta, and there's Quinacridone Magenta. They're all quite similar. I have one of them. I'm not sure if it's a purple one or just the magenta. I think it's just the magenta. I have so many magentas. How many does one need? Yes, this definitely looks like the one that I've got in my palette. It's only a 3-star rating for light fastness. It's disappointing. It's a nice colour. Flows really well to that wax patch. Nice pink purple colour. Again, another substitute really for Alizarin Crimson. So last one on that line, Purple Magenta. This is definitely a lot more pink, stronger pink. I'm guessing, I know that one's PV42. I'm guessing over the quinacridone this one is PR122. It's the Opera Rose colour. The only difference is the magenta colours that use that pigment don't have the fluorescent liquid mixed in with it. So they tend to be a lot more light fast. This is 3-star light fastness, so still not amazing. Next we have the Purple Magenta. No, not Purple Magenta, Quinacridone Magenta. when I get my words right. This has got good light fastness, and this is more purple rather than pink. A little bit hard to reactivate. Quinacridones tend to be as well very good with light fastness. They're very strong colours usually. Ooh, when you wash it out into a wash, it's got a very nice purple undertone. Don't know if that shows or not. I was trying to scan this in, maybe. Have a scan of it. I'm not sure what my scanner will do with it. Next we have another quinacridone colour, Quinacridone Violet. Oh, this is a beautiful purple. It's a plum colour. Ooh, bit of bleeding. Oh crap. Whoops. So trying to stop making a mess of my paints. Let's try and dry that. Oh, there we go. Right then, back on track. Definitely plum sort of grape colour. It's quite a nice purple actually. Next we have Potter's Pink. This is an English pigment. I believe it's only available from an English manufacturer from what I've read so far. It's sort of a brick red colour. Bit difficult to activate, which is unusual for Schminke. Usually they're very well activating. It's a brick red pink colour. I'm not sure what you do with it personally. Maybe for building work, building painting even. Paintings of buildings. Once I sort my English out. There's a bit of texture to it, which is unusual for Schminke paints, as they're very fine milled paints. Next we have Perylene Violet. I don't know why, but I'm really liking the Perylene colours. I've seen a lot from brands so far. They tend to be quite dark colours and moody, and this lives up to its name. This is definitely like a wine colour, very deep red wine. Oh, that's quite nice. Very opaque. Next we have Quinacridone Purple. More quinacridone colours. Oh, that's a nice colour. It's a very electric purple colour. Very good light fastness. Oh, that's gorgeous. See, I'm not a fan of Schminke usually, but I'm definitely considering working more with them. Perhaps I should stick them back in my palette. The next one is one that I purchased previously from them, Manganese Violet. Now, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this is nothing like a Manganese Blue. It does not granulate anywhere as heavily, and is not really anything like Manganese Blue. It doesn't have a blue undertone, or it just means it has manganese in the pigment makeup. Still pretty good purple though. Why did I remove it? It feels a bit chalky almost actually. There we go. Right, the next colour is Schminke Violet. I know this colour just by looking at it. This is PR23. It's the Oxazine Violet. I know that purple anywhere. Now it says it's transparent, but because it's so dark, it can be quite opaque. It's only got a 2 light fastness rating. I thought it was better than that. Obviously not. The ones I have already in my collection are from Winsor & Newton and Lucas. Both are pretty good. Next says Cobalt Violet Hue. Another hue, I don't know why. Cobalt Violet is pretty available on the market. I have the pigment myself. And this is definitely, it's more of a blue violet, this one. It's a bit stubborn to re-wet. Again, a bit chalky. I don't think I like this one. It's pretty gross. It's dirty purple. That one definitely won't ever go on my palette. There's granulation in it though. I think that and the Potter's Pink is the first ones I've seen that granulate. The Perylene Violet seems to be granulating a little bit. Manganese Violet, nowhere near enough granulation in that for it to be considered a manganese. Don't know if you can see. Next up we have Ultramarine Violet. I have this colour from Rembrandt and it's a blue purple. However, this one seems to be more blue. It doesn't look very violet here. Don't know if it looks different on the camera. But that looks like blue to me. I'm not seeing a lot of violet in this at all. Oh, and it's bleeding into the cobalt. Never mind. Let's try and fix that a little bit. Ooh. Next we have a colour which I hate them for naming. It's called Delft Blue. Delft is a place in the Netherlands which is famous for its canals and its pottery. On its pottery it has a blue colour. It comes from cobalt, I think, cobalt blue or oxide. Blue oxide, I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but it's a very deep dark blue. It's in damp foam blue, and Old Holland has the best one in my opinion, and I think they have the right to call it Delft Blue as they are a Dutch brand, whereas this is German. Still quite a nice blue, re-wets quite well. Old Holland's definitely deeper and darker. So I do have this pigment, just not from Schminke. And I don't think I will be buying it from Schminke either. Next up is Synthetic Indigo. It has a poor light fastness rating. So perhaps it's a genuine thing. No, I don't think many brands make the genuine thing. It's a nice indigo colour. It's quite nice actually. Next we have dark blue. How specific and how telling. Other than the fact that it's blue and dark, I've got no idea what this is going to look like. This reminds me a bit of a Prussian blue. I can't see... Oh yeah, so it's Prussian blue on their palette. It's a bit more purple than the Prussian blue though. It's definitely dark and it's definitely blue. So, onto the second from bottom row. And this is Phthalo Sapphire. It's a beautiful colour. I've seen it before. It's a phthalo blue. It's not the best phthalo blue I've seen. I'm afraid that one's already been taken by Old Holland. Their phthalo blue is the best one I've used and seen so far. I'm not just saying that because I'm a bit of a Old Holland fanboy. You really do make the best and most varied phthalo blues. This is still quite a nice phthalo blue though. This is Phthalo Sapphire blue. Next we have Cobalt Blue Deep. Cobalts tend to be a little bit more difficult to re-wet. This one definitely is hard to get going. It's still quite a nice blue. It's showing you some granulation. This isn't a very good paper it's on. Granulating colours I might pick out and do on some cold pressed paper later on. Next we have French Ultramarine. I'm not a big fan of Ultramarine Blue, and I think a lot of people are feeling the same way now. I think it's being kicked off a lot of palettes. I think the main reason that people still use it is that it's a very traditional colour, and on most other palettes it's probably a good paint to have in acrylic or oil. It's nice to have because it granulates, but it's not a good mixing blue compared to some others. And there's not an awful lot of granulation in this one. I know the paper's not very good, but you'd be able to see some texture Cobalt Blue is definitely doing better with the texture. So next we have Ultramarine Blue Finest. I don't know why brands have so many different versions of Ultramarine Blue. I mean, other than Ultramarine Blue Deep and Ultramarine Blue, there's not, even between those two, there's not much difference. I can definitely tell this is a little bit finer. There's less granulation than in the previous one, which has started to granulate a little bit now. You can sort of see. I think it shows on camera little clusters of pigment. Next we have just Ultramarine Blue. So 3 Ultramarine Blues here. All of them look pretty similar. If anything, I kind of prefer this one out of the 3. Just plain old Ultramarine. I may add these 3 to my Ultramarine Blue swatching. We can't quite see it, there we go. Next we have Cobalt Blue Light. I'm not sure why they don't put the Cobalt Blues together. Oh, it's like a Phthalo Blue. Oh, I quite like this actually. It's quite nice. Oh, I'm enjoying that one. Starting to like Schminke even more. Yes, I did just say that. Next we have Cobalt Blue Hue. Again, another thing that makes me question why have the 2 original things and then a Cobalt Blue Hue. Doesn't make sense. I've noticed there is no Ultramarine Blue in their range, so I think one of these is actually the pigment they use for Ultramarine, not Ultramarine, Cerulean Blue. There's no Cerulean Blue in this, in the Schminke Hoordam range. So this might be one of them. I think one of the Cobalt ones is the same hue, which is PB35. There are 2, there's PB28 and PB35. 35 is usually cerulean. There's some brands such as Cinelli try and conjure just use a PB28, which is a little bit cheaper than 35. Next we have Mountain Blue. Actually, this might be the cerulean. It looks quite cerulean in tone. I've noticed the Cobalt Blue Hue is more ultramarine. This Mountain Blue is definitely a cerulean tone, I noticed. That grey blue colour with a little bit of granulation. Next we have Cobalt Azure. Lots of nice granulating blues. Oh, this is almost a bit like Manganese Blue. Not quite though. Almost. It's quite hard to reactivate this one. There we go. Next we have Prussian Blue. This is a colour that I normally dislike because it's always very dark and it's very powerful. You can take over your mixes. My favourite one that I found of Prussian Blue is from Prussian, which is a handmade paint. This one's not bad though, it's fairly nice. Semi-transparent, or supposed to be. I find it mostly just transparent. Next we have Paris Blue. So many blues. This is a Phthalo Blue by the looks of it. Phthalo Blue is my favourite blue, so I'm pretty good at spotting them. It's a nice Phthalo Blue. However, next to it we do have just an actual Phthalo Blue. There we go. Oh, that's quite a nice Phthalo. I think I have this one in my collection already. Yes, I believe I do. It's a recent one. I used it for my review of the colours. Gorgeous blue. Still not the best Phthalo. Right. So I might leave those to dry now. I might leave this part at just page 1, as we've been going for 40 minutes already. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and I'm going to come back to it for a few final thoughts. Then in the next video I will do page 2.